Welcome to tonight's live stream. I'm going to get started in a minute. I just need to let everybody on social media know that the stream is getting ready to go on the air. Okay, now that I've let everybody know that the stream is on the air, I'm going to get into some perfunctory. Now, my brand new book, John Haynes 1987, is now available in paperback and digital format. And if you want to pick up your copy of the seventh book in the John Haynes series, you can head over to Amazon.com and pick up the seventh book in the John Haynes series that details John Haynes' past and shows us how the man he's going to become in the future. So head over to Amazon.com and pick up John Haynes 1987 today. Now, tonight's live stream is going to feature a special guest, Mr. Chris from Chris and Company. And Mr. Chris is going to be with me to discuss the topic of how to avoid being a workplace simp. And we're going to be talking about talking points from my book, Stop Simping in the Workplace. So, Chris, how are you today?
I'm absolutely fabulous, Mr. James. I love it when we do these collaborations because I know where they're going to go, and I know that they're going. These are going to be very teachable moments for men out there that either don't want to simp anymore, or men like us that don't simp. That's
Yeah.
don't simp at all.
Yeah, I do these type of streams so I can go out here and teach young brothers how to survive in the workplace because I've seen a lot of guys fall into pitfalls and traps on the job. And I try to take my experience that I had in my from my degree in business administration and my experience working for one of the top job readiness workshops, the Strive East Harlem Employment Service, where we used to deal with the people who were considered unemployable, people like single moms, people who were coming out of the foster system, ex offenders, and the homeless. And I learned a lot of different things about why people wind up losing jobs. And I tried to apply many of those approaches to my work in trying to do videos about the workplace and the book Stop Simping in the Workplace. Now, the book Stop Simping in the Workplace came out of many of the things that I have read about people losing their jobs. And as I did the first Stop Simping book, Stop Simping Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance, I took a further look at it and said I needed to do a follow up book because a lot of guys are losing their jobs because they're going out here making tactical errors as related to the workplace and not understanding how they needed to carry and conduct themselves on the job. Because a lot of guys, they come from these single mother households, and because they're socialized to be around women, they think that the way they socialize with women in their home and their personal life is the way that they do things on the job. But the way you handle your business is different from the way you socialize. And if you don't know where the boundaries are, you can wind up losing your job and winding up losing your career, and in extreme cases, wind up losing your freedom.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. Simping is just as much as a big problem, if not bigger, than these modern broads out here. And this is why, and here's why I call them broads, because a woman does not carry herself that way. A woman carries herself with class, with dignity, self-respect, because if she respects herself, she respects others. Modern women, modern broads, they don't respect nothing. They don't even respect themselves, even though that is that's their front. That's their front that they do. And and where simps come in at is simps enable these modern women. And why do they enable these modern women? Because they don't hold them accountable. Pookies and Ray Rays, they don't they're not going to hold a modern woman accountable for anything, because she brings more to the table than he does. And that's very problematic. It's like, hey, I want to be with you, but I have no respect for you, and vice versa. So let's make disrespectful decisions together. It's crazy on its face, Sean. It really is.
Yeah, it is, because what happens with these workplace simps is that they are used to women having power in their personal life, and they think they can transfer that whole codependent relationship over to the workplace. But if you transfer that relationship over to the workplace, you're basically going to set yourself up to get fired, because Pookie and Ray Ray, yeah, they're used to depending on women. But when you go to the job, you got to have a mindset of looking to take care of yourself, and you got to have a mindset looking to take care of your own business, because the only person at the end of the day that's responsible for you on the job is you.
Right. Exactly. And to lose your job over a piece of ass is, I mean, it's idiocy. It's absolute idiocy. Look, you know, with your three books, right? So you got Stop Simping in the Workplace, you got Stop Simping in Cyberspace, and also Stop Simping, You Don't Need Finance for Romance. All right. You know, all of these books that you've written, Sean, they all tie in together. And I'm hoping tonight we can touch base on all three of them, because I think that, you know, if you're simping in the workplace as a man, chances are your simpery is carrying you in on cyberspace, at the club, at the grocery store, at the at the gas station. Thirstiness is thirstiness all the way around. Would you agree?
Yeah, I would have to agree, because what I've seen from many of these simps is what they do is they're used to submitting to women, and they've been submitting to women ever since they were little. And again, they have this whole notion that mom is like the other women out here. And that's the biggest mistake I've seen with many simps. They think that everybody is going to be like mommy. They can go out here and submit to them and give these women passes, and they'll get rewards. But that's not how it works in the real world. And what happens is they don't understand that the women they are working with are competing against them. And that these women, once they see you going out here and giving them passes, they're going to use that to their advantage. And they're going to go out here and look to find that advantage and use it to get over on you. And a lot of times, what these women I've seen is they'll go out here, and as you're giving them passes and freebies, they're using this to go out here to get you to do their work, using that to get themselves a promotion. And then after they get the promotion, they wind up kicking you to the curb by going to HR and getting you fired.
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, it's crazy. It's insane. It's and because of the fact that the relationships, just the basic social relationships between man and women, have totally changed over the last 20 to 25 years. That now, even if you even look at a woman, if I'm just like, yeah, man, okay, I like the way she feels, I like the way she looks, now I could be some type of predator. I mean, the nature of interaction between men and women are absolutely gone. It's gone. And because of this sorry ass feminist movement that's been that's been indoctrinated and manipulated, and it's been turned on its head. Why should a man approach a woman and and risk the risk the opportunity, or risk the possibility of being labeled as a predator, thirsty, all these other negative monikers, and all because you just wanted to say hi? Look what happened to
Well,
OBJ. OBJ didn't even didn't even acknowledge some overweight white woman, and then she turned around and flipped it and said that he harassed her by ignoring her. This is asinine
it
on its
is.
premise. See,
And the big problem I see with the workplace simps is that they have really destroyed all of the boundaries that men established back in the day. Because back in the day, we had boundaries as related to the workplace. And the problem that I see with simps that I talk about in all of my books is
mhm,
that many of your simps, because they were raised by single moms, don't know how to set boundaries with people. And because they don't know how to set boundaries with people, what's happened is many of these women out here, they have gone out here and pushed many of these guys to the wall with things like the Me Too movement. And they have gone out here and changed the interpretation of policy to the extreme. So that's a big problem because you got all of these simps, again, looking to give women passes, not setting a line in the sand. Because I remember a time when a guy could go out here and ask a date of a work coworker for a date back in the 80s or in the early 90s, and there was no blowback to it
you better not
until
do it
Anita
now.
Hill came along with Clarence Thomas and made those allegations against him. And that's when we started to see people as related to creating these, pushing men further back, and pushing men further back now to the point where we have people to the point where all you need to do is make an allegation as related to sexual harassment. And because the company is afraid of getting sued, what they do is go out here and terminate a man. And that's made for an workplace environment where a lot of guys have to walk on eggshells, and they feel like if they just make any wrong move, they could be fired. So instead of us having a workplace environment where people used to be free like it was maybe 25, 30 years ago, we now have a workplace environment that's just filled with tension. And guys now are withdrawing because they don't feel safe in the workplace about expressing themselves.
Right. And why should they? I mean, I'm not gonna be. I'm not gonna be caught up in that BS. You know, you and I, we're Gen Xers, so we came up. We came up through the '70s and in our teenage years in the '80s, and you could interact with the girl, be flirty. Might even touch her on the back, touch her on her back without any fear of anything. But man, now at our age, I'm too old for that shit, dude. I'm not gonna. I I'd rather just stay away from me, and I'll stay away from you. And a lot of men, a lot of black brothers like myself, yourself, that got their act together, they're checked out, bro. They've checked out. I'm not. I've got better things to do than to walk on eggshells. And men like myself, and you too, Sean, we're done. We're done because we don't want to be accused of anything. And then usually, and then let's look at the women themselves. It don't be like a fine woman or a woman that's like a 6 or 7 or an 8. It's always those 2s and 3s and 4s. I mean, why are you looking at me? Why you, you know, he looks creepy. And then the
And a lot
simps,
of times you're
and then
not even
hold on,
paying them any attention.
right? And then the simps will come in. They're gonna come in and play Captain Save-A-Ho. Yeah, he messing with you. Yeah, he messing with me. Now, a a a, a simple situation of just looking at a woman turns into a damn fight. And for what? Men are checking out, man. The only ones that are sticking around is the simps. That's
Yep.
why, that's why I don't understand why women got a problem with passport brothers leaving, because all the simps ain't going nowhere. Simps are right here for you, sister. That's more men free for you modern bronze. It I'm it it doesn't make
Yeah.
sense. I'm trying to make it make sense. Help me out, Sean.
Well, I look at it this way, and a lot of men just look at it as I got too much to lose. And because we believe we have too much to lose, we're just not engaging with women anymore at the workplace, because the one thing a guy has to take care of is his money. And with a man, we're the only person we have to take care of ourselves outside of the Most High God. So we got to take care of our way of making our living. And we already know, like I talk about in Stop Simping in the workplace, most of these women on these jobs, they got more than one source of income. And I talk about the three sources of income that they have. Many of these women, they got more than one source of income. A lot of them not only have that job, they got their boyfriend or their husband, they got their parents giving them money. And sometimes, if they're out there, they got a side dude or they got some other hustle going on. So a man, he is his only provider, and he's got to look out for his money. And that's why a lot of guys are cutting out and disconnecting, because they need to survive in the workplace. And so
Mhm.
part of surviving in the workplace these days is guys have to cut off all contact with women. Now, I saw this coming way back as far as 1992 when Anita Hill made her allegations against Clarence Thomas. And that's when I decided to adapt at about 17, 18 years old. And I started putting distance between myself and women on the job. And I've had several jobs, and I've had girls, check for me and try to step to me. And as I was working on those jobs, I just kept my distance because I didn't want to risk my paper. And some of them were very attractive, and some of them had great personalities. And I would have wanted to try to do something with them. But I know that if I go after them, I'm gonna crap where I eat and make a mess, and that mess may just wind up destroying my not only my career, but could have destroyed my freedom. So that's why I just had to keep my distance. And that's one of the first rules that guys have to learn when they're in the workplace. And I talk about this in Stop Simping in the workplace. You got to learn to maintain your professional distance.
Yeah, absolutely. You have to maintain your professional distance. And and it makes for an uneasy work environment, because you go to a woman and you're working together, and you're working together, and you want, and you know suppose she don't like you, suppose she has a problem with you, right? Then you know she can go to her boss and say, well, i felt that I felt that Chris and James were hitting on me. Did they say anything, or did they say anything out of pocket, or out of control? No, it's just that he was he was assuming, I'm assuming that he was getting ready to say something. Next thing you know, you get called into the boss's office for some BS, and now you got this hostile situation at work, and all of that to run the risk of losing your job. No, man. No, 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 no. That no, ain't down with that, man. Not down with that at all. And
Yeah, I
so,
ran into that when I was in the year 2000 when I was working at AmeriCorps Vista at Strive. a lot of these women, they want to be social, and they get upset when you cut them off. And they sit there and they get upset thinking, oh, you're aloof, you're being distant, you're being cold. And what they want to do is try to get you social so they can go out here and get information on you. And that's the thing that upsets them, that they can't get you to get social and get information on you, but you're keeping yourself close to the vest because you don't know how these females will operate to get your information and use it against you. That's why a lot of people are like, look, I'm not even going to go talk to her or even engage her outside of the duties of the job, because a lot of these women, what they do is they gossip and they take information from you and try to use it against you. And sometimes you're not even talking to them, they'll try to use information against you. So that's one of the reasons why a lot of guys are just, again, keeping their distance outside of the workplace simps. But it's the workplace simps who make the environment very hostile for most men, because these guys, again, enable a lot of the bad behavior in women because they don't know where to set or draw the lines, because they never had those lines drawn for them by their father, and they never had those lines drawn for them by a mother who could just go out here and teach him how to carry and conduct himself. He don't know where the lines are, so he just keeps crossing the lines. And when he crosses the lines, he basically makes life hard for everyone on the job. And a lot of times you want to sit there and talk to these women, but the whole thing is you can't talk to them now because they are out here looking to get you fired. And I've run into a lot of them who have this emotional baggage. They look to get you fired because they project another man onto you, like their boyfriend or their uncle or whoever. And that's another problem that I've run into that guys deal with, and it's just a nightmare.
Yes, I've had to deal with that one time. I go to work. I went to work. I was working at Office Max a long time ago back in Cleveland. And this broad, and I'm calling her a broad then and now, uh, was just a troublemaker. And she literally had her boyfriend come up to the job. And I'm getting ready to walk. I parked my car and I saw somebody just like in their car or whatever. And wait a minute, guess what he was wearing? He was wearing a wife beater, a hat, a ball cap, and some pants. I can't make this up. Can't make this up. It was like a scene out of Baby Boy. I'm getting ready to walk in. I'm like, hey my man. I'm like, I'm looking at him up and down, like, what's up, man? Yeah, man. My girl Vanessa, man, and blah blah blah. I said, hold on, dude. I know you ain't coming up with my job with this. Right. No. I just wanted to tell you, man, that sometimes, man, my girl be overly dramatic and be trying to start stuff. So I just wanted to let you know. I'm like, and I'm looking at him like, I've already know this. I've already found this out. I was just like, yeah, man, I gotta go. All right, bet. Okay, cool.
What was sad about that situation is he didn't even try to check her. I mean, if you're a
Oh,
man, you're supposed to check her.
Simps don't check modern broads, because what's gonna happen is they're gonna get the blowback from that chick.
Yeah.
And their whole functionality, a simp's functionality, is getting laid. That is
Yeah.
it. That is their whole, that is their whole purpose. They don't want to miss out on getting laid. They'll deal with the disrespect. They'll deal with being humiliated time and again. They'll deal with all of that, Sean.
Yeah.
They'll
These guys,
they
they
do.
have no sense of what dignity or self-respect is. I mean, all they're
Mhm.
thinking about is getting this woman to drop the skid mark jockey thong so they can go out here and put the carbon rod in the atomic waste reactor, not understanding that how she treats you from the neck up is the main reason why you are basically ain't getting nothing from the waist down, because your respect is something that's important. And that's what a lot of these guys don't understand about being with women. Again, they just sit there, they take disrespect. And what's even sadder is, as I was listening to you about that situation, I mean, he shouldn't be coming to you on the job, telling you about her. I mean, that's just off code behavior for a man. I mean, a man is supposed to sit there and say, don't be talking to me about no other men at the job. That's disrespectful to me. But a simp don't understand how he's being disrespected because he doesn't understand the unwritten social rules of manhood. Because what he did right there, he didn't even understand how he was being disrespected. Because any other dude would have said, no, don't be talking to me about no other dudes at no job. Because if you're talking to me about other dudes at the job, I may have to assume that you trying to get with these dudes. And again, him coming down to the job just shows how weak he was because you're sitting there and letting yourself get disrespected. And the way you coming about things is you're not coming to check her, you're coming to another man. And that's coming from a position of weakness. And I talk about that in the Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need Finance to Get Romance book. And that was one of the scenarios that you talked about. That's one of the things that I feared about dealing with women on the job. They'll sit there and go and talk to one of these guys, start some drama, and then you're coming on a job. You don't even know this dude, and he's coming up, you can get in your face. And that's a very terrifying situation to be in.
Sean, they don't care. They don't get it.
Yeah, they like the drama.
They love the drama. They don't care. They don't get it at all. And here's the thing, dude, what if I had called the police? What if an argument broke out? All right. She would have lost her job. And I would have been able to sue the company because my safety was at risk because she thought it was a good idea to bring her boyfriend, no job having boyfriend, to the job.
And I find it funny that she's going to bring him to the job to talk to you, but she ain't bringing him down to the office to go get hired. It goes back to a point I made in the short where I said that, she'll go out here and go out here and talk to Pookie, but she won't try to go get Pookie a job.
Right. You can't make this stuff up, Sean. You can't make this stuff up. A situation happened here in the desert, and my lady friend at first day on her job, a brother did something. He's a brother in name only. Had made my girl feel uncomfortable. I didn't do nothing. Why? Because I didn't want her work environment. I didn't want her work environment to be awkward for all of her other majority white coworkers. All right. And she's a nurse. So that's already a delicate situation. However, a situation came up where one of her coworkers was being an a-hole to me at the VA clinic. I got my opportunity to speak to her supervisor. It was a wrap. It was a wrap, Sean. I let it all out on how they run that place, how that female was towards me, the co-worker that had harassed my nursey poo, and guess what? It got handled. See, we don't need to be reactionary with everything all the time. There are times where things just happen to fall in place where karma steps in. And that was one of them. So when I have an appointment at the VA, I don't come in and be like, "Hey, what's going on? Hey, Chris, I just go and I sign in and I sit down, and their coworkers, "Hey, Chris, how you doing? Hey, what's going on, man? Hey, what's going on? Yeah, we're gonna get you we're gonna get you in the back shortly. Okay, cool." And I go and I sit down like I got some sense because it's not about me. Simps make it about them. The modern broads that they play Superman for, they make it about them. And when you've got two selfish people coming together, it's like magnets that repel. No matter how hard you try to keep them, those magnets together, what are they going to do, Sean? They're going to repel from each other.
Yep. And that's
It's
what the workplace simps do. They make life miserable for people because they just sit there, and again, they don't know how to keep their professional distance. And I'm going to get to a point that one of the viewers was talking about because he wanted to know, Shapely, or he said that he had female coworkers on his job that are ogling him while he's doing his job. And the best thing to do in that situation, again, is to keep your professional distance. And professional distance is where what you're going to do is you're going to just keep everything about work, because a lot of women, they want to make things personal, and they want to make things personal because they want to get attention for themselves. But you got
Mhm.
to make it professional and keep it about the job, because what they'll do is if you just say one thing out of line, they'll take it and blow it up. So when you're out here, again, if you're working with women, they're off limits. And I talk about that in Stop Simping in the workplace, because what workplace simps do is, again, they don't understand what boundaries are. They don't understand where the line is, and they don't have any sort of understanding of protocol. They don't really understand anything about how to handle themselves on the job. So these are the guys who are out here, and what they want to do when they're out here with women on the job is they want to create these covert contracts where what they want to do is go and get something for something, and that's like quid pro quo. And they don't ever explain what they want as related to the quid pro quo. What they expect you to do is assume that you're gonna give them something, and what they do is go out here and do extra work or take somebody else's overtime, hoping that this will lead to them getting a date or getting some draws. But all they do is wind up getting upset when these women just are out here getting their back blown out by Chad and Tyrone or Pookie, and then they're sitting up there mad. And in some cases, what they do is they go out here and they're trying to get with these women, and the women wind up flipping them and getting them fired.
right, exactly. And then they're mad. Now they're mad. And then let's check. Let's do the snowball effect. So now you lost your job. Now you got to now you have to see if you have enough money to pay your rent. If you have enough money to pay your rent, can you pay your electric bill? Can you pay your gas bill? Can you pay your water bill? And if you got enough for that, do you have enough money for food? Do you see where a simp that lost his job, all right, chasing some gas house gorilla that's not worth that's not worth the skid mark thong that she bought from Walmart, can take down your entire livelihood? Like, you got to think outside the box. And simps don't do that.
Yeah,
I
they don't do critical thinking. They don't understand
No, they
that.
don't do no critical thinking. All they want to do is get laid. That is their whole that is their whole existence. They want to get laid, and get laid by any means necessary. And now, why don't I want to come back to that, but I want to talk about also simping in cyberspace. Jesus H Christ, man. A chick show a couple of tatas, and hey baby, I could do this for you, I'll do that for you, I'll get you flued out.
Hmm.
Now before I go down hypocrite street, I've flued a few women out. At the same time, I let them know what time it is. Like, hey, well, hey, this is what's going down. This is what I'm expecting, and so on and so forth. Oh, okay, well, yeah, blah 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 blah. All right, fine. Because as a single man, right? When you're single, you can exercise. You can exercise, but you still got to be careful how you do things. You still got to be careful how you do things, and you have to You have to set the tone and set the standard on what you're willing to tolerate and what you're not willing to tolerate. But simps in cyberspace, they don't do that. They don't do that at all. And I mean, they'll, oh baby, I'm gonna fly you out and do this and do that, and and not even discuss the parameters on expectations. And
Yeah,
what do
but
they
that's all
do?
part of
And
their
then what
covert
do
contract.
they and then what do? They go right on, they go right on social media and then shame the female. Now,
Yeah.
should the female be shamed? Uh, yeah, she should be. At the same time, at the same time, Simp should handle their business better. Hey, if you're gonna fly a woman out, you better make sure you get laid. You better make sure somewhere of sex in or intercourse or whatever or coitus, whatever you want to call it. All right. Something's being discussed. That's
Yeah.
the conversation.
But when
Now,
it comes to cyber sims, I always ask the critical question, why is this woman online? Because usually when a woman got a man, she is not going to be online taking these kind of pictures because she respects her man and her behavior is a reflection on him. So any quality woman is not going to be on social media trying to advertise her goods, because if you're trying to advertise your goods for likes and attention, chances are this woman is taking cash apps from men, getting flown out by multiple guys, and is possibly getting flown out to Dubai, where she's getting some brown waste defecated on her, urinated on her. And again, if your woman is out here online showing off in lingerie and bikinis, that's showing you that basically you're involved with a prostitute. But the cyber simp, he's so thirsty for the attention of women on social media that, and he's too afraid to go out and talk to real people. So he invests in these fantasies that he sees online. And what he does is the cyber simp, he's out here. He thinks these pictures are real. He thinks this person is real. And he doesn't even understand that he's actually being emasculated, because if you're sending Cash App money to some woman who's getting her back blown out by another man, that's basically making him look like a fool, because you're not getting laid. As I've said, you have an ashy dick and extra dry balls, and you're basically being a laughing
extra
stock
dry
to that
balls.
woman. And she's talking to you, she's talking to this other man and laughing at you as she's with her other man.
Right. Exactly. Exactly. If you're gonna fly a chick out, at least let her know what the deal is and put and keep yourself in the advantage, right?
Yeah.
You know, you know, that's but some of these guys, man, they've been flying girls out and they're like, nah, I'm not gonna do nothing with you. What do you mean you ain't gonna do nothing with? I just spent $5,000. I've seen a video. I've seen a video of a dude do that. And and I mean, he had to see the signs that oh, this chick ain't gonna give you any. You know, there's a way of talking to know if a woman's gonna put out if you fly her in. There's just
Well,
a way.
the problem with the simp is that he never sees that this person was never interested, because they, as I talked about in Stop Simping, why men don't need finance to get romance, and Stop Simping in the Workplace, these guys have a hard time picking up on nonverbal cues and body language.
Mhm.
They don't know how to read women. They don't know how to read social situations. All they want to do is be told what they want to hear. And that's why a lot of these guys get taken advantage of, because I look at it and go, $5,000 to fly somebody out? No, that's money I can use to lay down on a down payment on a home. That's money that I could use to go out here and build some investments. I mean, that's money I would not be
No, no,
I
no, no,
would be
no, no,
looking
no,
to
no, no, no.
build on.
It doesn't cost $5,000 to fly her out. That's only that I'm talking about altogether.
I
Flying
know,
her out,
I know what
getting
you're
a
talking about
hotel room,
altogether, but
feeding.
that's just too much money.
right, feeding her hungry ass, you know.
I'm
but
like,
they are dangerous dudes, man. They're far
yeah,
more dangerous than a passport, bro.
yeah.
And next week on a Saturday night special, Sean, Dr. Rambunctious Angie is coming back on the show, and we're gonna discuss passport bros. I'm kind of sort of an honorary passport bro. However, I'll get into more of that next Saturday on the Chris and Company radio show, the Saturday night special. I hope you can listen in, man. You know, tune in
I'll try to
and
listen in.
oh yeah. And because simps don't care about their self-respect. Men like you and me, we care about our respect. We put our self-respect as a priority. A lot of a lot of times I have met women, and even though I had been looking for a relationship, I know that this woman that's in front of me right now is clearly not relationship material. Now, as a single man at that given time, I make the conscious decision. And okay, she's not relationship material, but is she worth coitus? A one night coitus stand, maybe, perhaps. Yeah, and then that kicks in. But then she says some obtuse things and something, and it, say something crazy or obtuse, and it's like, damn, you turned me off completely. And then it's just like, nah, I'm even gonna I'm even gonna waste my time. And that's messed up because dating shouldn't have to be this hard. But
Yeah,
simp, but that's the difference between a man who got his act together versus a simp. Simps
yeah,
don't care. They
yeah. Simps don't
they're willing to
understand the
pay.
value. They don't
They're
understand the
willing.
value of the most important intangible, which is your time. And your time is precious. And I talk about this in Stop Simping. Your time is something that's too precious to waste. And you don't want to lose your time dealing with people who things aren't going to work out as related to things. There's no connection, there's no vibe. But the simp will sit there and try to hope, wish, and pray something will happen. And he'll do this on the job. He'll be on the job, sitting up there hoping, wishing, and praying he's going to make a connection with somebody at the job. Whereas regular guys are like, okay, I see what this job is all about. This job is just a place for me to get my paper. It's a place for me to stack my chips. It's a place for me to go out here and lay the foundation for what other ventures I want to pursue and be able to get the capital to do those things. But this guy, all he's thinking about is just going out here and getting some draws, not understanding how he's screwing himself right out of a good job. And sad to see a lot of guys lose good jobs because they got caught up in trying to chase some female at the job who was already making plans to get rid of him the minute he walked in the room.
Exactly. You know, Sean, you know that I'm an uncle. I've
Yeah,
talked about being an uncle. I talked about my uncleship. I'm a father, and
yeah,
you know, but there's one title that I will not be one, and that's stepfather. And 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 stepfathers are the biggest losers they are. And me and my sister had this conversation about my mother's second husband. And I mean, he is everything of a punk ass bitch of a man that I've ever met in my life. And my sister was like, "Well, you got to understand that he was taking care of us. He wasn't taking care of me. He was taking care of you. And he was also taking care of his sons. And it was overwhelming. No, he was a bitch ass simp. His whole
I
total
wouldn't
focus.
say that he wasn't taken care of anything. I was saying he's being taken advantage of because what happens with simps in the stepfather situation is they're taken advantage of by a lot of women who see that Pookie ain't doing nothing.
Here's the
And
thing,
what they
though.
want to do
Here's the
is
thing with
go
this
out
guy.
here and look for you to clean up his mess.
Right. Well,
And as the stepfather,
not this guy. This guy was an arrogant bastard. He was very, very arrogant. He had some lame ass executive job at a wine at a winery distribution company. So he was very arrogant on how he carried himself. And he in his mind, all he thought about was chasing my mother and bragging about his little penny ante job, which they ended up kicking him out because he had a drug issue. What I'm
Yeah.
saying is, I'm saying all that to say this, that that oh, I know that I would not be a stepfather if my life depended on it. And there's no woman whose vajayjay is so good that I'm willing to be a fool for that woman. I've even told my sweetie. I told her, I said, if you didn't have any children, it would have been very difficult for us to be together because of the mere fact I'm not going to compete with a child. If I can't get your most undivided attention, it's a waste of time. It's a waste of time in the bigger picture. But simps don't think like that. Simps don't move like that. Your third book, uh, simping. You don't need romance. You don't need You don't need
Stop simping. You don't need, why men don't need finance to get
right,
romance.
right, right. Well, that loser is in that category, and so he played himself. And so and I learned from that. I learned from that. That's why when I got involved with my ex-wife, I would not have married her if she had a child. I would not have gotten deeply involved in her had she had a child outside of my son. That was one of the biggest criterias before me and her got together. And I have no regrets. And so that's what I'm saying. You got there's that's the difference between simps and real men. And and I'm not saying that most stepfathers are suckers, but most of them are. And because all it takes for that child to say, "You ain't my daddy," it's a wrap. Because and it's true. I've got better things to do than to have a child humiliate me because I'm in competition with a kid for this woman's attention. Man, hey, but a lot of simps don't care. All they think about is getting laid. They don't care about their self-respect. They don't care about their dignity. They don't care about being disciplined. They don't care about being alone to know thyself more,
Yeah.
to be a better man of higher value. They don't know nothing of those issues. And you show me a simp, I'll show you a man who's afraid to being alone and is desperate and is thirsty and well, yeah, baby, that ain't no problem. Oh, that is not going to be no problem either. And the whole time it really is, but he's too scared of a little boy to come out and be like, yeah, I'm not feeling that. Yeah, I'm not feeling this, and not feeling. I'm not feeling this vibe. There was a
They
lady.
never stand up for themselves.
No, they don't stand up for themselves because their whole focus is getting laid.
Yeah.
Getting
And I'm
laid
going to go to
is
a point
all
that Red
about.
Grave has made that you were talking about as related to this. He said simp management is the worst. And I have had to deal with simp managers. When I was working at City College, I ran into a simp manager. Oh, man, you don't know what you're in for. That's a nightmare because these guys, they just hide in their office. I've seen that from them. That's one of the ultimate traits of them. They're afraid to lead people. And they think that leading is bossing people around, but leading is teaching people, being hands on and talking to them, finding out where they are, what they need. I mean, you're supposed to be there for your people. But what these guys do is that they hide in their offices. They avoid conflict. I talk about this in Stop Simping in the workplace. And the simp management is the worst because you can't get any guidance. You can't get any support. And these kind of guys, they'll throw you under the bus. And they'll throw you under the bus because they're scared, they're cowardly. And people just you can't really work with them because I've seen on shows like Gordon Ramsay's Kitchen Nightmares how these simps, when they get put in a leadership position, they just fall apart. And they fall apart because they're afraid of conflict, because they want their world smooth. They don't want any conflicts, problems, or obstacles. And that's what makes a simp manager the worst in the workplace, because you're looking for help on how to do this job. You're looking for guidance. You're looking for how to learn how to do the procedures. And this guy is hiding in his office, or looking to avoid you, or he's looking to go chase some secretary or some receptionist. So when you're on the job, it's very frustrating because you can't get any guidance or support. And that is one of the worst things about dealing with a simp manager on the job.
Oh, absolutely. I got fired from a job because my supervisor was being a simp. And what happened was it was these two knucklehead hoes that were harassing me. And it was a second job. I was working as a 10 key clerk in the evening at a bank.
Yeah.
And they was just rude and disrespectful. There's a reason why people call me Mr. Chris Sean. I
Yes.
carry myself with respect. I give respect to people, and in turn, I expect to be respected back. So, I complained about these two these two chicken McNugget broads. Okay, so I went to the white supervisor, and I was just like, "Look, I give them my work when it's done. I don't need any. Well, you need to hurry up and you need to do this. No, I need to do my job and you need to go away. That's what I need for you to do." So then, in retaliation, they went they went to fat man, the fat black thirsty dude, pulled me to an office and fired me. But see, that's the thing. That's the thing. Simps like him and those two chicken heads, they're not on my level right now. I do pretty good for myself financially. And I know I make more money than them. And that's the thing about being a winner. If being a winner takes acknowledging when you've dealt with situations like simps and and losing your job, but then you turn around and you end up being better from that.
Yeah. Because
And
men have discipline and resolve.
right.
The simp doesn't have it. I mean, he
Right.
can't get up around, do anything without having trying to go out here and trying to pander to women. I mean, these guys never get anything done, and the women basically are running the company and running stuff, and he's not running anything.
Hmm. Yeah, exactly. And let me let me give the definition of hoes, because in some of my company commentaries I use the word hoe. uh, when I when I did my Wednesday broadcast, I talked about the John Morant situation. And briefly, the John Morant situation is where what happened was the New York Post decided to talk to some strippers about how John Morant acted at a strip club. I can't make this stuff up. So the mainstream mayonnaise maggot mafia media tried to give a stripper relevance by clowning on John Morant, even though if John Morant didn't come up into that club, she'd still be at the welfare office Monday morning trying to get food stamps. And and I and I put the story in a way why real black people, that goes for non-simps, black men and women who got their act together, that are looking to be with like-minded people, need to listen to your broadcast. They need to listen to my broadcast, because we tell it exactly the way it is and we speak truth to power. And we show how the mayonnaise mainstream media will will dirty up a black person they'll a black person to do something wrong, and then they blow it up to a level as if they started World War III. And so when I refer to those women as hoes, I didn't do it in the sense of a sexual nature. Being a hoe is your mindset. Being a hoe is having a whole mindset. Whether you're sexually promiscuous or not, you have females with good-looking women, but with real nasty attitudes, disrespectful, conceited, narcissistic, the whole nine. You're still a hoe. Why? Because you have a whole mentality. That's facts,
Yeah,
man.
yeah, and those are the type of women who are on the job that can mess a guy up on the job. They can just jam a guy up because again, they're not there to work. They're just there as a way to just get by. And again, they got more than one source of income. And this is what guys got to understand when you're on the job with these type of women. They got more than one source of income. You've only got one, but the simp doesn't understand he's going to lose his source of income trying to deal with those type of women. And it winds up messing up his whole job and his whole career.
On the job, in cyberspace, and at home. It doesn't stop with the modern broad. With these modern so-called women, I don't like to call them modern women because women don't act like this. Broads do.
Well, like
And
I would say that they're feminist indoctrinated women. That's what I call them in the woman crisis.
okay,
They're really feminists. They're not women. Women
but they
have a whole
suck at
different mindset.
a black woman feminist sucks because she's indoctrinated a practice that wasn't meant for her.
Yeah,
It was
she's
meant
trying
for
to be.
white women.
She's
And
actually
they're
trying to be a
too
replacement
goddamn
man.
stupid to understand that.
Yeah, but she's programmed to believe that she can be just like a man. This is something I talk about in the man crisis. They think men and women are the same, but they are completely different. But you can't tell them this because their mind is messed up. They believe they can be just like a man, but you're not a man.
Right. And then you got maggot brains like Steve Harvey talking about a man should never have to ask a woman what she brings to the table. Yes, he does, fool. Any man who got his act together, especially black men who got their act together, they have things to lose. And they're not going to lose it by messing around with a modern gynocratic hyena, as Crimson Cure would say. Not
Yeah,
gonna do it. And in any woman that sees, in any woman that comes across a man that got his act together, she already knows that she has to approach him differently off the bat.
yeah. She knows that she has to show him respect.
Exactly. All right. Because you will respect me the easy way or the hard way. It's your choice. And and here's the thing. I divorced my first wife. I divorced her. I sure did. Why? Because she didn't respect me. She didn't respect what we had. She didn't respect the family unit. And she was too immature to understand the reality of this marital situation that we both committed in. And she did not want to put the work in that was needed. Now, if I left my wife, my ex-wife, if I left her, it ain't nothing for me to leave a girlfriend. It ain't nothing for me to leave a situationship. So if a woman really wants me, she's going to have to prove it. She's going to have her actions has to back up the words because I'm not going to settle. I'm not going to settle being sick and fiddle. If I can't be the man in your life, then then I'm then I'm not going to be there. And that's how you got to that's how as a man who got his shit together, that's how he must carry himself.
Yeah, that's how he has to carry himself in life and on the job. Because if you don't act like a leader, then nobody's going to respect you. And that's what the workplace simp doesn't understand. I mean, he goes in the job looking to just follow women. And again, if you want support, you're going to have to go out here and work with the men. And these guys, they really have an issue with men. That's one of the things I notice about the workplace simp. He has a real problem with other men and male authority. And that problem makes it where he's looking to make enemies out of guys, not understanding that the guys out here are going to be your allies. They're the ones who are going to give you a hand, help you out. But the females there, again, they're not thinking about you because most of them already got a man. And one of the things you got to learn in order to survive in the workplace is assume most of these women already have a man on the job. So don't even think about getting involved with them because they just mess you up. And so make sure that you understand if she's here, she got a man, and you just need to focus on you.
But if think about it, Sean. If you know a guy that's a workplace simp, he's a simp in every other aspect of his life, not just
Yeah,
work.
he's everywhere. He's everywhere.
He's
He even
he's a
goes to,
he's the simp. He's the simp at the gas station. He's the simp at the mall. He's the simp at the club. He's the simp at the bar. It doesn't stop. It really
no, it's everywhere.
a work. You show me a workplace simp. He's a simp in every way in his life. He's a
And
simp in every way of his life, top to bottom.
every part of his life is a sad, pathetic thing because he never accomplishes anything. Everything that he does falls apart because he just gets too emotional over women.
Right. And let's get some clarity. Now look, every man has had a woman do something to them. All right. It's not, it's about learning from that experience. It's about learning from experiences. And and if you were a simp once, that don't mean that's your moniker forever. What you learn is you stop
Yeah,
in every aspect.
yeah,
And you
because
let it
what I learned is that everybody's been a simp at one point in their life, but the guys who grow learn from it. They learn, they don't make that mistake again, and they move on. But the problem with the simp is he goes out here, he gets burnt, he does it again, and he thinks he's going to get new results doing the exact same thing, but that's a definition of insanity. He sits here, and again, in all aspects of his life, continues to make the same mistakes over and over again, not understanding you're not getting anywhere doing things the same way, and you got to find a new way to go out here and do things.
yeah. But that's the thing. Simps don't know how to do that. They don't know
Yeah,
how to
nothing
adjust.
registers.
Right. They don't know how to adjust. They still want to show off to their friends. Man, she's fine though. Yeah, but she's rolling her eyes at you and
Yeah,
she's waving at other dude. No, that don't bother me because look how fine. Ooh, bruh. Ooh, I love to man, I just can't wait to take her home.
yeah, but she doesn't respect you, so you're just being used.
Right. And we need to get back to that. Then let's talk about the media, right? Media enables simps.
Yeah,
They enable them because it's all about making a woman feel good. It's about her feelings, not about the truth, not about the reality of situations. Oh no, no, no. Wait, look with Maury, right? When the
yeah,
woman would be like, "Yeah, he need to be a real man and take care of his responsibilities," and then Maury say, "You are not the father." And what does Maury do? He don't chastise the girl. He chastised the guy. What kind
that's
of
part of
bullshit?
that gynocentric frame of thinking.
Right, right. And who wants that? No real man who carries himself would be cool with that. There's going to be a lot of women that's going to be lonely and single because they went through life not being held accountable for their actions.
Yeah,
And it's like, there I have there's a lady friend in town, and we'll chop it up every now and then. And she'll ask me, well, I don't understand what's wrong with me. I was like, well, what do you mean you don't understand what's wrong with you? Well, I just come across men and they don't have it together and this and that and the other. I said, well, it's your selection. But here's the big thing. And men like me, you're gonna have a hard time trying to find men like me. And she was like, well, what do you mean by that? If a man that got his act together sees a woman his age or slightly younger or slightly older than him, and she's very attractive, but she still is available, that is a red flag. That is an absolute red flag, because clearly there's something about her. No matter how attractive she is, she can't keep a man. And if she can't keep a man, you're not going to you're not going to be able to keep her either. No matter how big your schlong is, no matter how much money you spend on her to take her out to dinner, there is something in her character, something in her personality where she comes up short why she's single. If I
That's
see a
what the
me,
simp never asked the question about.
Sips never ask questions like that. If I see a good looking woman and she's the same age as me, and I'm 52, and she's fine, okay, she got it together, red flag before before we even have a conversation, because I'm thinking to myself, this woman is too attractive, too gorgeous to be single. And if she is single, there's something absolutely wrong with her, where I can where there could be a possibility that we could be incompatible. But that's how men like us think. Simps don't think like that. She fine. Man, I can't wait to introduce her to Sean, because Sean going to give me an attaboy. Going to be like, man, she's fine.
That's
And
the whole thing that's messed up about simps, is that they have relationships with women for other men, and that's the thing that is like it boggles my mind. They don't want the woman for the woman. They basically want her to be an attachment that's on their arm, and
mhm.
that's the main reason why they want the woman, is because they want her to elevate his social status with other men, and that's really just using a woman. But they'll sit there and say, "Oh, the women are bad for using them." But it's a reciprocal exchange. They're using the women, and they basically turn every relationship they have into prostitution.
Well, you could thank the mainstream media for that,
Yeah,
because WAP, whack ass poo nanny, right?
yeah,
That was that was that was song of the year. Really? Song of the year. So now the mainstream mayonnaise maggot media is enabling sexual promiscuity, but yet in one hand, but in the other hand, if you even as much as even make contact to these hoes, then you the one that's in trouble.
yeah.
Make it make sense.
Well,
Make it make sense.
they have contradictions. They say that they're the liberated woman, but the whole thing is, if you're liberated, then you have to understand how to be professional. Because when you're on the job, you would think, okay, then I need to be professional. But the whole thing is, they have a double standard. Not even actually a double standard; it's a triple standard. I talk about this and Stop Simping in the workplace, because the workplace simps, they create a triple standard where they have a standard for the women where they give them a pass. They have a standard for themselves where they try to give themselves a pass, and then they have a rule for everybody else. And what they do is they go out here looking to punish other guys as related to them going out here and just doing their job.
Yeah, because yeah, Cardi B knows what's going on in the political world. So so President President Dementia talks to her, but he won't. But he avoids Ice Cube like the plague, don't he?
Yeah, because Ice Cube's going to hold him to a standard. He's going to
Right.
hold him to his word.
And just like us, we hold these modern broads to a standard. And what do? They run away. And then people wonder why I I tell the listeners not to even think about voting for Biden in 2024.
Oh, he's
All of
another
this,
workplace simp.
yes, he's a workplace, uh, and other things. It's funny how the Me Too movement went away when his name got brought up. I'm just saying,
Yeah, but that's
funny
part
how
of the
that
covert
happened.
contract that they have. See, a lot of these people, like the Me Too movement, they will, because of their hypergamy, they will protect rich, prominent men because they want to go out here and be able to get goodies from them. So they'll go out here and punish a guy of a lower economic social status. But when it comes to higher level guys of economic or social status, what they do is look out here to get passes for them because they want to get access to their resources. And that's something guys in the workplace have to look out for because what they'll do is they'll go out here and try to jam up a guy who's like a low level guy, but an executive, they're the ones flirting with them and trying to get their attention because what they want to do is go out here and get access to their resources and hopefully try to monkey branch to other guys. And I've seen a lot of guys get used like this, and they'll have good jobs. And what happens is they'll get used by these women. And then as they see another guy higher up the social ladder, what they will do is go out here and try to find a way to get the other guy fired so they can monkey branch over to the other guy.
Hypergamy is such bullshit. If a woman comes to me with some hypergamous crap, I'm gonna be like, you know what? You're nothing more than a pump and dump. That's all you are good for. Just to hold this skeet in. Hypergamy. I'm not even going to even insult myself in engaging in a hypergamy conversation. Man, it's a bunch of garbage. It's time for black men to step up and have and and have the set of balls that we were genetically born with to say, you know what? We're not going to take this crap no more. We're not going to take it from Mr. Racist White Man. We're not going to take it from modern Cardi B hoes, and we're not going to take it from crackhead Karens that complain and bitch and whine and moan when they're menaces to society, but then turn into victimized snowflakes when they get caught in their BS. We've got to set the Bevel standard and not asking, just taking it. Ask for, I'd rather just, hey, I'd rather say, I'd rather just do it and say, I'm sorry later. That's how real men do it. And,
Yeah.
and so, simps in the workplace, uh, one of the worst jobs I've ever had, Sean, it was defense finance and accounting services back in Cleveland. Do you know there were people work, the whole term of work husband and
Yeah.
work wife and all of that? There were literally people at that job married and they were having sex on the job. And there were a couple of people there that got pregnant from their coworkers.
Yeah.
Make this stuff.
Because what they'll do is have affairs on the job because, again, they have more than one source of income. And sometimes they look to use the workplace simp as a source of income. And they're looking to trade the skid mark jockey thong in order to get gifts and stuff because their husband or their boyfriend ain't paying for nothing or they can't get the money from their parents. So I talk about that and Stop Simping in the Workplace about how they go out here and they will participate in these type of relationships behind the guy's back on the job. She'll have this workplace husband, this side dude. Again, he's just another side dude,
No,
and he's
man.
just being played, and he's just thinking, "Oh, I'm going to build a relationship with this woman," but she's not interested again. And that's why, guys, when you're on the job, always assume she got another man. Don't assume that she's on the job looking to be single. Even if she says she's single, she's got a man. She's got some guys out there. And that's why you set the boundary for the job where you say, look, I'm not even getting involved with nobody over here. I'm just going to focus on my paper because she'll go out here, create this situation. You'll wind up on some DNA drama and you'll wind up basically with your whole life messed up.
Exactly. My advice to my nephews out there, that are listening to this great broadcast right now, if your girlfriend comes home to you, your girlfriend, your wife, so, someone that you are in a serious committed relationship with, if they come home to you and say, "Oh, Todd or James or Tyrone, yeah, I had a great day at work. My work husband helped me with," you got to get rid of her. You got to get rid of her. You got
Now,
to
if
get
she's
rid
talking about guys on the job, that tells you something is wrong. I
something's
mean, that's
big
a red
wrong.
flag right there.
Big
Whenever you're,
red flag.
whenever you got a woman and she's sitting up here talking about other dudes to you, you have to understand that's disrespect directed at you. I mean, she's talking to you
Mhm.
about some dude at the job. You gotta check that, because no woman wants you to be talking about other women to you about your job, and no woman is going to be wanting you to be talking about other people. I mean, that's her respect. And again, if she's talking to you about other guys, that's a red flag that she's on her way to thinking about getting with one of them.
Right. I mean, there was a dingback chick that I talked to back in Cleveland when I was at Voice of Radio. And she always wanted to know, how come we never hooked up, Chris? How come we never did? And I just told her, you and me won't mix. You and I would not work. We would not work at all. Well, what do you mean by that? We mean it wouldn't work. I think it would work. That's the problem. You think. Let me help you out here. There were times where I would have a conversation, like you and I having a conversation, right?
Yeah,
And she would always tell me, this guy looked at me at the gas station today. This guy looked at me when I was in a grocery store today. I don't want to hear that bullshit. But that's what she would do. And all she was doing was lowering her stock every
yep,
single time she did that. And I would just sit back and I would, okay, all right, all right, all right. And then when it came time, when the absolute truth had needed to be spoken, she didn't like it.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I don't and I just told her, going forward, I don't want to hear about some guy winking at you at a gas station. Yes, want we men want to be with attractive women, but we don't want to hear about I don't want to hear about Gary Gnu making eye contact with you while you pumping gas at the local gas station. I don't need to know that. And you thought it was important enough or priority enough to tell me. Let
Shouldn't
that
even be talking to
make
you
that
about
make
that.
sense. Right. Make that make sense. It-
If she respects you, she ain't gonna talk to you about that kind of stuff.
right. Absolutely. When I on the first Saturday night special with Dr. Angie, she said to me, "Well, you wouldn't want to hear me talk about my options." And I was like, "You're right, because do you want to hear about my options? Really? You want me to talk about my options? Really? Because I can do it." You know, this whole see, we this whole social gynocentric social engineering is nothing more than a goddamn joke, Sean.
Yeah,
Uh there, this whole there you've heard of the saying, right? Hell have no fury when a woman scorned. Yeah, if you're a simp, yeah, you'll hold on to that, like, oh, hell have no fury when a woman scorned. Let me tell you something. A man who got a real black man who got his shit together, he'll have no fury when a woman scorned. Yeah, that bitch is yet to meet me. I've never worried about a scorned woman because I'm the man in charge. I am the man, Mr. Chris. And you have to carry yourself as such, or you will get ran over.
yeah.
Never worried about a scorned woman. Men like us don't worry about scorned women. Oh, you scorned? You
You go on
scorned?
about your business.
Going about your business and stay out of mine. You can go suck on that. That's how you handle business. That's how you handle yourself. Got, you know, there's respect is something that is earned. And and when a woman doesn't give you respect, you don't owe it to her to respect her. And simps don't care about that. They're willing to degrade and disrespect themselves because they only got a one-track mind for one thing, and that's
Yeah.
getting laid. That's it.
They don't understand that respect is the most important thing. I mean, one of the things that I know that from my years of being bullied when I was in junior high school and high school is that respect is the first thing that you have to have. If you can't get respect, then there's no moving anything forward. And this is what the simp doesn't understand on the job. This is what costs him promotions. This is what
Mhm.
prevents him from being able to move his career forward. Is he doesn't understand that how you are treated from day one is how you're going to be treated throughout your career. And if you don't
Exactly.
demand or command respect from day one, you're not going to get respect later on. So you have to understand if people aren't giving you respect, then you have to go out here and take that respect, because if you don't set boundaries for people and have a standard, what will happen is you're going to get, people are going to see you as weak, and they're going to go out here and take advantage of you. And that's what happens to a lot of these simps on the job. They get taken advantage of, they get used, they get played, and then they wind up out of a job. And that's why their careers basically go nowhere. A lot of these guys go nowhere because they just go out here and make them, and they look weak and they act weak. And when they act weak, what they do is become tools that these women use on the job. And that's what happens to a lot of these guys. They get used, and then they wind up just getting fired because she decides she's going to revise the story, head over to HR, say she was harassed, and then get you out of that job. And then you're in a place where you're not able to pay your bills or even get another job to take care of yourself.
Right. Brothers like us, find brothers like us find simps to be like crabs in the barrel, Sean.
Yeah,
Misery loves company. So if the barrel describes misery, if the barrel is described as misery, then the simp crab wants to pull real black women who got it together, right? In that barrel to make them toxic.
yeah,
Oh, am I telling too much? Oh,
you're telling the truth.
okay. All right. All right.
They want to pull them in the barrel, make them toxic, make them miserable. But the whole thing is nobody wants anything to deal with them. I mean, women who have their stuff together don't want anything to do with those losers.
Exactly. Exactly. Uh, men who got it together like us go where we're respected. Simps stay in the same mud hole fishing for the same catfish.
Yep.
That's the that is absolutely different. You know, I you know, I used to complain about Cleveland a lot. And I would go to the store. I would go to the store or go to the DMV, and my whole day is messed up because I've dealt with negative people. And I did so much complaining that I had to look at myself in the mirror. And I realized that, well, what are you going to do about it? You can't be complaining all the time and hoping that and expecting a different result.
Yeah. Because with
So
the workplace simp, what he does is he's looking for somebody to do. He's looking for a. He doesn't really plan for his career. All he's thinking about is chasing women, and that's why he can't set a course for his job, and that's why he goes nowhere. He's just sitting up there, just looking to bring people down. Like you say, he's a crab in a barrel, and that's why people, when they see him, they just avoid him because they know that all he's going to do is bring people down. And that's why when people see him, especially in a management position, they get out of there because if you stay with this guy too long, all you're going to do is wind up in a place where you lose your professional reputation, and you want to get it wind
Sean,
up jammed up.
sometimes simps be around jobs forever
Yeah,
because they're good liars and good manipulators, and they know how to work their job, right, to
yeah,
keep themselves, you know, to keep themselves there, and and they come off overly nice, uh, in fact, too nice, and they're trying to lay it on thick as if like the job, like the whole company is theirs.
Yeah.
That's how simps operate. And
They act
what
like
I
they
was
own
what,
the company, but they can't lead anything. They
what I
put up
was
a facade.
what I was juxtaposing, what I was saying just a few minutes ago, is that simps, basically what I was saying was that I had to learn to adjust. Stop
Yeah,
complaining, and okay, what are you gonna do about it? Well, clearly I did something about it. I put myself in a new environment. I put myself in a new environment out here in the desert. All right.
yeah.
Simps don't adjust.
No, they can't
Simps
adapt.
don't
That's
even think, simps don't even have the wherewithal to think that they're simps. That's
yeah.
bad.
A lot of these guys will stay in the same spot for 20, 30 years, but they'll go nowhere. People will be passing them by. They'll stay in the same job because, again, their world is smooth. And in a smooth world, they are not having any conflicts or problems in their life. And they don't understand that you're going nowhere. They'll just sit in the same spot and they'll just stay there and just go. If you have a business and they're in a leadership position, nothing's going anywhere. But
Mhm.
the whole thing is they don't really want to change. They don't want to adapt, and that's a big problem when you're dealing with a workplace simp, especially in management, where you need to change. These guys they really don't know how to change.
No. And then let's talk about the simps that fall through the cracks, right? The Will
Yeah,
Smiths, the Russell Wilsons, right? These guys, they fall through the cracks, and they become rich and they become wealthy and successful. But look how they're treated. Look how they're demeaned. Look how the women's behavior, the women that are with them, how their behavior is. And they don't pay any attention to that. My mother's second husband, he's a bona fide loser bastard. So these attitudes, the attitudes of disrespect, even though a word may not have never been said derogatory to a Russell Wilson or a Will Smith, there's been other actions that have been deemed very disrespectful. When Sierra, for instance, with Sierra, right? She damn near wore a naked dress to what was it, the what was it, Academy Awards or something like that. And I mean, she showed you saw the thong, you could see the thong through her dress.
yeah. And he didn't see how that reflected badly on him because she's showing you that she has no respect for you.
Right, right. The whole Will Smith thing. The whole Will Smith thing. He would rather be in a failed, miserable marriage than to get a divorce and have his self-respect intact. It's it, it's insane, man. Simp. So you can be $1 million simp. You can be a
Yeah, there
famous,
are.
popular simp. It Simping is a state of being and a state of mind. It has
Yeah,
nothing to do with your money, and it definitely has nothing to do with your value. In fact, if you are a rich simp, you're still a low value man. Oh, God damn
yeah,
it. Well, I spoke. Did I? Oh my. Ooh, oh man.
yeah.
Hope y'all ain't mad out there.
I've talked to. It's like I said, and
Oh,
stop
oh.
simping why men don't need finance to get romance. A lame is a lame, even if he has $1 million. You're still a lame. You're just a lame with money.
Exactly. It doesn't change. Your demeanor, your attitude, your disposition is everything on how people perceive of you, how people interact with you, and how you even interact with yourself. And
People can
simps,
read your weakness, and then they see your weakness. They just go, "Yeah, even he's got $1 million. I'm not giving him any respect because I see that he's weak. I can
right?
read the weakness." People look at you within 3 or 4 seconds and go, "Look, that's not anybody I won't even bother with."
Exactly. That's why I don't talk about stuff like this on Chris and Company on Wednesdays, because there are other far more important issues that need to be discussed, that need to be addressed, that's going on in the current news cycle that Black men and women need to focus and pay attention to. And and gynocratic hoes like Ebony Williams not wanting to date a bus driver, that's not story. That's nothing more than retarded psychological gobbledygook. I would
Yeah.
say mental masturbation, but that's nothing to masturbate off of. Give me a porno, and then we'll talk at it. We'll have that discussion. The point that I'm
Well,
making is the point I'm making is there are so many issues, important issues, priority issues that the Black grassroots need to hear and need to pay attention and focus on. In the new Black media, it is beneath me to talk about a Will Smith or talk about Ebony K. Williams, to talk about a Russell Wilson. If they want to be simping losers, let them lose their souls.
yeah, you got to focus on you. And that's something I talk about in the simp books. I always talk about you got to put yourself first, focus on you, and let those guys just stay where they are. Now, if you want to break out of the simp paradigm, you have to learn that you got to focus on you and put yourself first and focus on your goals. But the simp's goals are somebody else. And when you make your goals somebody else, basically you're giving your power away. And that's something the simp doesn't understand.
It's not that the simp doesn't understand, they don't want to understand.
No,
All
you
they're
don't want
thinking
to.
about, all they're thinking about is coochie. That is the
Yeah.
only thing that makes that 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 makes them feel like a piece of a person. And you have to assess and evaluate how's that been working for you. You find yourself in your 30s, in your 40s, in your 50s, and you're still in these unstable relationships. It's not all about the women.
Yeah.
You're gonna have to look at yourself in the mirror and see, well, could it be me? Maybe it's
Yeah,
me.
it is them. But the whole thing
Maybe,
is they have the
maybe my expectations is too high. Maybe I'm not being realistic. Maybe I'm not being maybe I'm not being serious about the reality of the situation. But
well, they're living a second class life, and that's the whole thing that's sad about a simp on a job. His whole life is second class. I mean, in second class because he puts himself second. I mean, he could have the very best in life, but the whole thing is he gets in his own way. And he gets his own way because he puts the woman ahead of him. And when he puts the woman ahead of him, he basically tells everybody he needs to be put last. And that's why he just basically winds up losing in life.
right. Let's look at Denia Jackson, right? Now she's coming up with all this. Now she's talking to other other digital broadcasts about how Derek Jackson treated him, but yet she went along with it. She went along for the ride. She went along with it the whole time. And then those be the women that be talking about ain't no good man out here. Ain't no good man out here. And yet not look at themselves in the mirror on the choices that they make, the bad judgment decisions that they make. And now I don't know how many kids she got with him, but no man is going to put up with that. Nobody's
No,
going to deal with that. And then he's gonna have to deal with, he's gonna have to come across Derek every now and then. Oh man, nobody's gonna put up with that mess. Nobody's gonna put up with that noise. Oh no. And that's what I'm saying. Being a stepfather is being a step simp.
yep,
There's no benefit for a man to be with a woman who's got all these children, not theirs. They're not gonna listen to you. Even if they do listen, to you, they're one comment away of just saying, you know what, you're not my daddy. And then what? Now you're gonna be standing there looking goofy and stupid, and then all for what? Because your sole mission was to try to turn a hoe into a housewife, and you was willing to disrespect yourself to get there. When
yeah,
all you could have done is just meet a woman who didn't have any kids, meet a woman who does respect herself, and is willing to respect you and value the same things that you value. Now you're with a woman that has substance.
Yeah.
I,
But these guys don't want substance. They want
am I
flash.
telling too much? Am I telling you? Oh, all right. Yeah. Now, of course, they want this. They want the sizzle, but then when they get the steak, they don't like it. Well,
They don't
that's how
like it because it's not cooked right. It's burnt.
no. Like like you hear women say, but nice guys are boring. Nice guys aren't boring. You've got you your relationship is boring. You are boring. You have to make you being in a relationship requires work.
Yeah.
And simps in these
They hate work.
modern broads don't neither of these parties want to work at putting in work in making a healthy relationship.
No, they
It's
want
not
everything
in
easy.
them. They want everything easy. Want
That's
everything
why they get
instant.
burnt.
Mhm. Burnt mentally, physically, and literally. Like going to the
Yep.
free clinic because you caught an SDD. Burnt. There's that. Just no, no concept of self-awareness whatsoever. They require work. Relationships require work,
That's one thing they hate to do.
and they hate to do it. You know, hey, I'm retired. I don't punch a clock or anything. My significant does, and yet when she comes home, hey, how's your day? What happened? You know, I listen to her. I cook. I cook 2-3 times out of the week. In fact, I'm barbecuing this weekend. She won't have to cook. She won't have to cook. And at the same time, when we go on vacations and go places and things, she has my back.
Yeah.
You know, that's how relationships work. You look out for one another. And so you can enjoy the fruits of the energy that you've put into your relationship. But this once again, this is coming from a man who got his shit together. Not the
Yep.
Pookies, Ray Rays, and Simps. Because Pookies, Ray Rays, and Simps, they're hearing this and it sounds like Chinese to them.
They can't
Modern,
handle and process this.
right? These modern gynocrat gorillas, you know, he talking too, he's talking too much, whatever. I ain't gonna listen to that. If a man don't have a six-figure salary and all of that, I ain't gonna pay him no attention. Not realizing that only less than 10% of black men
Make that kind of money.
make that kind of money. And if I'm
And
making $100,000 a year, you're gonna have to do a hell of a lot more than showing me some TNA and twerking in my face. You're
you
gonna
have
have
to
to
bring
do a
something to the
hell of a
table.
lot more than that. Yes, exactly. All right. $100,000 a year black man who got it together is going to be with a woman who's worth that $100,000.
And usually those guys get their women from the ground. They're with them from the ground up. They usually get their women early. I mean, what
Right.
I've seen is that quality men of character, women get them right off the market. I mean, they snatch them off the market
Right.
very
And it's not
quickly.
always about good-looking women.
No,
She's a plain Jane. Why is he with her? You know why? Because she does what's necessary to maintain a healthy and happy relationship. She puts her duty, she puts her honor and her dignity and self-respect into that relationship, and she lets that man knows it
yep.
and feel it, and he reciprocates what she's doing on his end. That's what. But these you know these modern crackhead chicks, they don't got it together. And then you talked about, to add to the gynocracy and the simpery, let's talk about real quick what you talked about last night, which was the color purple. And the only reason, well, of all movies to bring back, you bring back the color purple. You can't make this bullshit up. And for what? Because they want to re-indoctrinate the gynocentric, modern, broad, destructive, anti-black man practice.
Yep.
They want to bring that back. They want to indoctrinate that. But I'm telling you, my show, your show, and other shows in the new black media, we are going to steer. We're going to tell our listeners to steer clear from this hot garbage color purple remake, because it's toxic, and we now control the narrative. The new black media controls the black narrative on what we need to see, or what we want to see, that shows power of black men and black women who got their shit together. That's
what we want to see.
Not homosexuals, not these modern gynocratic toilet women, none of that. No Pookies, no Ray Rays. Standard, upstanding, well-respected black men and women who want to be, who are controlling the narratives now on how we want to be depicted. Want to bring back a show? Bring back the Cosby Show. Not Cosby himself, but bring back a black-centric show like that. Where there's
I create content like that. I try to create content.
Black woman lawyer. Go ahead.
That shows you black men in leadership roles, like my John Haynes 1987. There's a heavy focus on the black father in the 1980s, because a lot of the simps, what they did was they buried the black father, and they aligned themselves with Oprah Winfrey and all these other people to say, oh, the black father is not there. The black father's not there. But in this story, I talk about how black fathers were there in the 80s, and that we don't really talk about how black fathers shaped a lot of families. And that's something I went in depth on John Haynes 1987, because we have to talk about how fathers were there and push back on these narratives that people like Oprah Winfrey and Alice Walker were pushing. They would push these narratives, but with John Haynes 87, I talk about those fathers and how those fathers really helped their sons and their daughters be able to move on and become professionals, like a lot of Gen Xers became.
Well, exactly. And that's what I like about what you're doing, is that the books that you're writing, they're about uplifting uplifting the patriarchy in the black manosphere and in the black family, because that's what's solely missing. Unfortunately, for every black man that has raised their children, and I have the paperwork to prove it, like they're called custody papers. I have the paperwork to prove it. You have other 2, 3, 4 brothers that have been railroaded through the system, because the courts enable these wayward modern broads to control and use the children as weapons against the fathers.
Yeah.
And then let's talk about reprobates like Alice Walker and Terry McMillan. They made both of those women rotten, made them rest in eternal piss and rotten hell. And here's why: because these women made their money off of disrespecting and degrading black men in their books. And then the thing about Alice Walker, by her marrying a white man, it also, there's no depth of degradation and disrespect and of being the concubine of white supremacy than that. Candace Owens is in that. Candace Owens is in that in that in that division, because I'm about to say something that's about to rub these swirlers, and I'm about to say something, Sean, that's about to really piss off these swirlers off. If you are a black woman talking, if you are a black woman and you talking about pro-blackness and you married to a white man, you are not about pro-blackness. Oh, 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 oh. Was I supposed to say that? That's right. Because you cannot be talking about black people and then call yourself being pro-black for the culture, married to a white man, and then you disrespect black men. You can't
Yeah.
do it. You can't.
She's always been anti-black. That's what I've noticed about Alice Walker. Again, white supremacy elevated her and made her into a star because she was pushing the anti-black agenda. And people they couldn't see that it was poison because it was put in a sweet wrapper. But as I was doing my
Mhm.
research, I saw that it was poison, and that's why I pushed back against that book. I mean, Color Purple in the movie, because that movie it's one of the most destructive things in the black community, and it poisoned an entire generation, and basically is one of the tools that led to the gender wars.
Exactly, and that's what I personally like about you, Sean. You was the only one up on that Fox fake soul panel that you spoke out how destructive the color purple was, and them other and others and those other coonish monkeys that was just glad to be seen on Fox Soul, like that's some spectacular shit, where they was just kissing that chick's ass, talking about, oh, that was color purple was great. And I saw you twist your lips and roll your eyes. And I said, yeah, this brother gets it. He really gets it. And I'm glad that you did not go along with that monkey circus on Fox Soul.
Well, I couldn't go along because it's all about my integrity. And again, when you're in the workplace as a man, or you're about your business, and this is my business, I have to maintain my integrity, because my integrity, again, my word is my bond, my everything I do. If I have a mission talking about I'm about positive stories about the black experience, I can't give somebody like Alice Walker a pass. No, I've got to stand up for what my mission and my core values and what everything that I represent, because when I went on that show, it was about my mission, about going out here and speaking against these slave movies, standing up about the mission that I had. Because and your integrity is the most important part of you. If you can't stand and be consistent about what you're about, then you're not even worth taking seriously. And that's again something the workplace simp don't understand. You got to have integrity when you're out here. You got to stand up for what you believe in, and you've got to hold fast for what you believe in, because if people can compromise you, then you're not anybody they respect. This is something I talk about in one of my novels, The Temptation of John Haynes, about how the John Haynes character maintains his integrity. Even though he's in a corporate hell filled with demons, he still maintains his integrity. And that's a core value that I have for myself. And that's why I stood up on that show. That's why I continue to stand up and do shows like this.
Well, what does those people on that panel on Fox Soul and workplace simps got in common, Sean?
They have no character
There's
and
one,
no integrity.
right? They're bootlicks,
Yeah.
plain and simple. You were surrounded by a bunch of bootlicks on that Fox, that so-called Fox, and folks out there, Fox Soul is not a real black-owned, black-operated digital media network. NiceRadioNetwork.com is,
Yeah.
and also your channel, sir. And
Yeah.
and if anybody at Fox Soul got a problem with what I'm saying, you can come see me. You're not gonna like it, but you can come see me. And so, you was in that situation, you stood your ground, you didn't waver, you were surrounded by a bunch of fools, and you were still professional. And
And
simps and bootlicks do not have the capacity to do those things.
that's why they get no respect.
And they always come, and they was they were so thirsty, like, yeah, I'm hoping I'm getting noticed. You know, I got this book and I'm trying to do this, and I hope I get noticed. And, you know, I'm glad to be on your program because I'm hope that I get noticed. Like,
That's a
geez,
covert contract.
have some self-respect about yourself. Pick your ass up off the ground.
They're hoping somebody will give them a deal. But the whole thing is, you get deals by taking your respect. If you don't respect yourself, other people ain't gonna respect you.
Exactly. And you'll get further with what you're doing than what they're doing.
Yeah,
Well, and it's and simps in the workplace, cyberspace, you know, it's all the same. I
yeah,
and that's another thing too. I know that you had talked about passport bros, and that was a bit of a touchy or the subject for you. And you know, simps created passport bros
yeah,
because 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 what self-respecting man was to compete with a gynocratic gorilla that's looking for cheap attention and 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 instant fulfillment. That's what simps do. They'll give you instant fulfillment. They'll 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 amen to everything that these females will say, and then and then uh, once they sleep with these modern women, uh, broads, which they really are, no, the women find out it's too late, that these guys didn't bring nothing to the table.
yeah,
Like I was telling Dr. Angie, it's not, how can you blame men for your bad decisions? Because Tyrone is cool, and Tyrone is fun, and Pookie is fun, and they make me laugh. But when I get around Chris, he doesn't make me laugh, and he's boring. He got it. But he has his life together. He has a nice studio. He lives in a nice house in the desert. But I want the guy who makes me laugh. Okay, then loser. Then you're gonna be a loser right along with the Pookie Ray. And then eventually, my time will come, as it always. My time will come with that woman because I know my value. And unfortunately, we live in this society. Man, Sean, if for every ex-girlfriend that I come across and on how sorry and pathetic their lives have been past me, I'd be a rich man right now. I'm
yeah,
serious. I'm serious. It would it would I would be a rich man. I've came across so many ex-girlfriends who are with low energy, no value, very low value type of men. It's now I respect you even less because you don't even have the wherewithal or the capacity to try to get with someone who had more character or more who had more uh, going on than I do. And you
yeah,
know, it's just it's just I am so fortunate that that I don't have to worry about going into a workplace and 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 have to see a simp or have to see some Cardi B wannabe that comes to work half naked, no one in an office say nothing. There's that too.
yeah. That's
All
why
right.
you want to work on a solution. Again, the simps, they don't really want to work on solutions, but you have to work on a solution. That's something I talk about in Stop Simping in the workplace. You got to
Mhm.
work on your solution of breaking this paradigm because you can break this paradigm by focusing on you and taking yourself to the next level. So it's about 1 a.m. here in New York. So I'm going to get ready to wrap up tonight's show.
All
And
right.
I want to thank you, Chris, for coming on tonight.
Oh, no
Um,
problem.
I'm asking everybody to head over to Amazon to pick up a copy of John Haynes 87. The book just came out today. I'm asking everybody to pick up a copy because book sales have been kind of slow. So I'm asking everybody pick one up, get the likes up. We got 23 likes in the room. Really appreciate it.
Mhm.
And I'm also asking everybody to head over to the Cash App so I can continue to stay on the air. So I want to thank you, Chris, for coming on tonight.
And yeah, and also when you go on to www.niceradionetwork.com, go over to the blog page. Sean has put on a lot of blogs. He's posted a lot of blogs where he puts small summaries of what the stories of his books are, so you can, and then once you click on after reading his blog page, it'll take you right over to Amazon to purchase that book. So he's put a couple of summaries blogs on the niceradionetwork.com page. Go over, check it out, and and also go into Amazon and purchase one of his John Haynes books, and also uh, which one is Simp books?
The simp
The
books are Stop Simping, Why Men Don't Need
That's right.
Finance to Get Romance, Stop Simping in the Workplace, and Stop Simping in Cyberspace. I'm going to take a minute to answer Computer Robot's question. Yes, who are the original simps? Well, the original simps were, I say, the baby boomers. A lot of them were the original simps because they grew up with feminism, and their way of adapting was to submit to women, and they thought submitting to women would get them over, but what that did was create problems for every other generation and made the workplace a miserable place. So I want to thank you, Chris, for coming on tonight. I'm going to get ready to
Yep.
wrap up tonight's stream, and I'm hoping you guys come back for next week's stream. Everybody have a good evening, and everybody have a good night.
See you later, Sean.